Imagine a neuroscientist peering through a microscope at a neuron firing in real time in a San Diego lab, asking, how does this tiny spark translate into a thought? Paul Churchland drops us into this puzzle, the mystery of how raw matter, like neurons and chemicals, somehow conjures up consciousness. It's like watching a magician's sleight of hand and wondering if the trick can ever be fully explained. What if the trick isn't magic at all, but something totally different? Churchland starts by shaking up philosophy's old assumptions about the mind. The classic views, behaviorism, reductive materialism, functionalism, all fall short in explaining real cognitive life. Let's see why these ideas stumble when confronted with new science. Churchland recounts Skinner's radical behaviorism, which says to ignore mental states and just study behavior. But when researchers like David Marr in the 1970s tried explaining vision, behaviorism couldn't address internal representations essential for recognizing faces or objects. It's like trying to understand a film by only watching its credits roll. Functionalism says the mind's like software running on hardware, meaning mental states depend on function, not the specific brain stuff. Think of a piano and a synthesizer playing the same tune, different machines producing similar outputs. Yet Churchland shows this analogy breaks when we see how specific brain biology affects cognition uniquely, revealing the limits of swapping hardware. Reductive materialism promises to explain mind by reducing mental phenomena directly to brain states. Churchland highlights advances in neuroscience tracing ideas to neural firings in California labs, but argues the reduction isn't straightforward. It's not just a zoom-in, it's a questioning of whether some mental concepts will even survive closer scrutiny. Next, Churchland digs into how the brain codes thought and perception, and why computers still stumble here. The brain doesn't run on bits alone. It's a wild molecular dance that challenges our neat philosophical models. Churchland takes us to UCLA, where neurons fire patterns representing not raw data, but meaningful symbols, like a city blueprint encoded in patterns, not just ink on paper. This brain encoding hints that thought is more than electrical spikes. It's biological symbolism deeply tied to the messy physical world we live in. He contrasts this biological dance to digital computers, which use binary ones and zeros rigidly and predictably. The brain's chemicals, receptors, and neurotransmitters work more like jazz musicians improvising, flexible, context-dependent, and adaptive. This makes the brain's processing rich, but harder to pin down with conventional computational metaphors. AI, Churchland points out, flounders at real-world tasks that living creatures execute effortlessly, like recognizing a face in a crowd or catching a ball mid-flight. Our biology's lateral connections and molecular feedback create lightning-fast, parallel processing that no silicon chip can imitate, at least not yet. Finally, Churchland shakes up everything with eliminative materialism, the idea some of our mental concepts might be straight-up wrong. What if ordinary notions like belief and desire are just folk myths about the brain? Churchland describes how everyday folk psychology labels like beliefs and feelings have governed our understanding of mind for centuries. But these categories haven't held up under the microscope of neuroscience and cognitive science. Researchers at UCSD found these impressions often oversimplify or even misrepresent how cognition really happens, much like early astronomers misclassifying planets. The idea behind eliminative materialism is that as neuroscience progresses, we'll need to scrap these old mental categories entirely. Churchland compares this to chemistry's move from alchemy. The old elements were tossed out for atoms and molecules, a better framework, albeit less intuitive at first glance. Embracing eliminative materialism means acknowledging that consciousness might be a placeholder, a story we tell ourselves until science gives us new, radically different concepts. This flips philosophy on its head, suggesting the mind isn't a singular thing but a shifting, evolving explanation driven by new data and discoveries. Remember that neuron from the start? Now you see it's not magic but biology rewriting our understanding of mind itself. Churchland invites you to drop old folk notions and peer into the messy, marvelous dance inside your skull. Next time you're stuck on a thought, try imagining it as a pattern of sparks and chemicals, not a ghost in a machine. It changes everything. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.